Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about the Procreate adjustments and how you can use the adjustments to help you with your art pieces, make it faster, make it more streamlined process for you, and just generally how to use the adjustments in your digital art workflow. The first one I want to start with is the gradient map tool. It's like having your own personal shopper for a color gamut or a range of colors for your art pieces. If you're not entirely sure of where you want to take your color scheme, then the gradient map feature is very useful. Really promise yourself, dedicate yourself to just one color scheme. You can actually shop around and check for different color schemes, where you want to take it, what type of mood do you want to take your digital art piece in. I think it's very convenient and you don't need to try a lot of things yourself. You can just kind of test them out, see what you like, and then decide to go with one of them or not. I really think it's a fun way to just see where you want to take it. Maybe you aren't married to a certain idea and you just want to kind of shop around, see what works for you. I think it's a really convenient way to find a faster workflow for you so you can get down to the nitty-gritty of where you want to take your art piece to. Another adjustment tool I love, and it's pretty useful in almost all pieces, and it's another way to kind of block in your colors first. It's just a way to get good coverage for your digital art piece. You first start with your harder brushes, and then you come into the Gaussian blur and raise it to about 5 to 10%. Any more than that is going to kind of spread your color too thin, so you want to keep it under 10%. And then once you do that, you kind of have this color spread around your whole piece, and it kind of smoothens out those hard brush pieces, and then you can choose to add hard brush highlights and texture to finish off your piece. It's really good workflow if you don't want to add in the soft brushes yourself. Feature I feature in 90% of my digital art is the noise function. The reason why I use the tools is digital art looks so clean. So look how clean this looks. It just looks too crisp and clean. You want to add a little bit of life to it. And so what I do is I go into the noise function and I choose which one I want. It doesn't really matter. It just kind of depends on what works for your piece. And what you want to do is you want to up the noise level. And you can choose what pattern of noise that you want to use and how intense you want to use it at. I usually don't bring it up further than like 15%. Any more than that and it looks a little choppy. But again, that's ultimately up to you of how you want to go about your piece, and maybe it'll work for your piece. Another feature in the adjustments tool that I used on some of my pieces, some not so much, is I use the motion blur. So what I do is I make a duplicate of my main base layer, and I will go to either Gaussian blur or motion blur, depending on what's going to work for your piece, usually motion blur, and I will kind of up the intensity. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the transform tool and I will just kind of slightly move it across, so it just adds some movement. It adds some special movement blur in my piece. Say if that character is moving possibly at a fast speed, it just really kind of sells that idea that your character is moving fast. And that's what I love about digital art. I mean, when you're doing digital art, you want to use it like it's digital art. You don't want to like do it like it's traditional. In traditional, you would have no choice but to do it by hand. But when it's traditional, it's all about saving time. Yeah, you can do it manually, but I think it's easier if you kind of use a couple of these shortcuts in your digital art workflow. Another feature I really love that I add in pieces that have some form of dynamic lighting is the bloom tool, the bloom function. It's really great because you can change the intensity with the burn, or you can change the size of the brush that you're using, or how big that bloom is going to be. You can also change the transition. That transition basically means how intense it's going to transition into the light burn, into that light bloom. So is it going to be gradual or is it going to be really intense? So usually I would like to bring the transition relatively low because you don't need that much. Again, it depends on the piece that you're doing it for. Where it's this piece, I had an overhead light, so I want it to be slightly gradual to come off of his suit, which is a certain material that will only be so much light baking off of it. So I think it's really necessary to just add that final realistic lighting, or again, maybe it's not realistic lighting you're looking for and you want it to look very who has lighting like this? I don't know if you're familiar with Oliver Stone's films. His lighting is like that, very, or Scorsese has that too, where in his films there's really dramatic overhead lighting. It's kind of like that look. So you can play a lot with the bloom effect, especially in Procreate and apps like Photoshop, and I'm pretty sure your Clip Studio Paint. So yeah, the bloom effect is really effective as well. I really love it. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you get to check out these tools in the adjustment setting, and I'll see you next time.